Yeah, that's heck. I granted, I love teaching that stuff. I can talk shop all day about that. I still got all my old PowerPoints from when I would do combat lifesaver
I
classes.
love that you said PowerPoint. That is
Yeah.
that is the most military thing. We're gonna learn something really important today. Look at this PowerPoint. Look at this. See this right here? All right. I mean, that's how I did my first videos. Like, I don't know if you noticed, I made PowerPoints, and I would
Nice.
record myself talking to them. Like, that's
No, that works. Yeah.
surprisingly, that's what worked. But yeah,
Uh,
military death by PowerPoint.
yeah.
Nothing
Yeah.
like a safety brief and a death by PowerPoint.
I didn't make my PowerPoints. Like I got them from Navy medicine and stuff, but and I'll put in my own 2 cents
Oh yeah.
on certain slides, but yeah, it's just kind of funny. Like, they, there's so much more to training. Like, that's one thing I would recommend to like new guys going to the Navy is like when you get to the fleet, don't think that you know everything yet. Like, it's have an open mind because there's
Yeah.
probably better ways that they figured out to do certain things.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I mean, like I said, that was the same thing. Like, I think it's not. I would say it's common, but it's not 100%. Um, where for me at least, I had a very big ego. I was a very egotistical person. I try to keep myself in check even now. I know I've gotten a lot better, but that's the thing. But so combine that with how people usually feel when they come out of school, and they'll come out of school like I know everything. Like I'll go to the school for a year about this gear, and I know how to fix this gear, and then you show up and you find out that was just uh, what do you call a course just so you a familiarization course. It was a year of familiarization. You've never actually dealt with real problems.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, like you said, just be humble. Just take that knowledge you were taking, and that's your baseline. Now get ready to build up. You can actually build your house on that now.
Yeah, especially like I can speak for at least my rate. Like going green side or going to like a platoon of Marines, like there's gonna be a whole lot of things you're gonna have to adjust to.
Oh
That's
yeah,
like it's a there. Yeah, I don't by no means am I trying to scare anyone away from it or anything because like I said, it's the coolest thing I've ever gotten to do in my life. Very grateful for the experience and everything, but yeah, just have an open mind. Like they will call you out for things that they don't like on you, so to speak.
were you like instantly accepted even though you were Navy?
Not, I mean, you go through a little bit of like a hazing, maybe. Like
New
I think
guy.
that we get, yeah, you do get your core. You can pull your corpsman card. So I'm not going to say it's nearly as bad as what like some of the crap that they'll give Marines, but typically you're going to be viewed as a new guy until your first deployment with them. Like I'd say that's probably a fair assessment. But yeah, luckily I do what I got to do to get along with people. So I like that, and being a corpsman, I don't think I got particularly badly hazed or anything. Like I do like when I showed up to my platoon, like there was a guy that came out smoking a cigar at the barracks, and then has a bottle of Jack Daniels in his other hand, just pounds the rest of it, and he comes up to me like, "You're the new doc, huh?"
That's
Like,
like
yeah,
something
that's
out of a
me.
movie.
Yeah, and then he's like, "We're going for a run," and I'm thinking like, what is this guy gonna do? Like he just got done smoking a cigar and like he's drunk as hell. Like I can run this guy because I just got out of the training pipeline. No, this guy ran my to the ground.
Built
And
different at that
what
point.
it, yeah, and now he's like one of my best friends. James Major is his name. Like he's like love the guy to death, but it's fun like getting off on like or getting to meet some of these guys for the first time. But yeah, I remember that you get a little bit of that, and then I remember I was able to impress like a few guys from my platoon because they were like, "Hey Doc, how quick do you think you can get an IV and good over there?" Or there's another guy, Marine in my platoon, and this is like on day 2 of being with him. I'm like, time beat, and I was able to drop an IV in 30 seconds. They're like, "Oh crap, they actually didn't send us a bad corpsman."
Oh, cool. Trial by fire at that point.
Yeah, so No, at that point I had a lot of practice, by the time I got to him. So I like for a new corpsman, that's like fresh out of the pipeline, like I don't it's not the end of the world if you can't pull off neat tricks like that. That's they but that's the thing is you will have to earn your respect with them, so to speak, I'd say. And like don't show up like we used to call them gear grenades. So like if you have like actually a big disclaimer. So I'm coming from like early Global War on Terror 07 time frame, is when I was with them. So like we got a lot of freedom in our kit and the way we could set everything up, and we got a lot of cool toys that we could put on them and stuff. But not totally sure if it's still that way, like how much freedom you get, but I will say if you do get freedom, don't use it like to identify yourself as someone that doesn't know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Like don't have a bunch of straps hanging off of you, when you show up to your first field op. Like don't open up your med bag and then just everything's just shoved in there or something. Like there's I couldn't list them all the things, but yeah, it's don't I guess you dress to impress for your first occasion, I guess.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But with that being said, like they'll love the hell out of you if you do your job well, like it's like I said, it's the biggest privilege getting to serve alongside them. So
yeah, I would say probably the two branches that get along the best as the two branches that like they talk trash to each other at the time, Marine Corps and Navy. Like we'll always crap on each other left and right. But as soon as like you got Roger up, like we're best friends. Like we got each other's back. More so I probably than like other branches. Like for sure I got your back as well. But you talk about like a love-hate relationship. It sounds like Marine Corps and Navy, like, oh, the Marine Corps is a department of the Navy, and like some dumb stuff like that. And then Marine Corps we can easily just snap back because they're the tip of the spear, So it's we can talk all we want to the Navy, but the Marine Corps is the tip of the spear. So they're precise agents at that point. But yeah, no, I would happily serve alongside Marine Corps.
Oh yeah, they'll teach that like whatever you're willing to learn. Like that was one of my things when I showed up in my platoon is I showed up pretty motivated, so to speak, at least wanting to operate with them. Like I'm not the best garrison corpsman. Like I might not always be in regs with my hair and stuff like that, but I wanted to operate with this platoon, like be their doc, and I wanted to learn everything that I could. And they, like I said, they trained me on the SMAW, like the 83 millimeter shoulder fired weapon. Like I got sent to the advanced close quarters school at Pendleton. The tons of just training, and then they will educate you on all sorts of cool stuff if you're willing to go that distance with them. Yeah. If you show up like, hey, I'm a corpsman, I'm not supposed to have a gun or something, like, no, you're not going to get treated. You're probably not going to get the same experience.
Yeah, I would imagine you get a whole lot more respect if you do, like the things you said, where if you're willing to get more experience and trained up, and how can I help? Where else can I help at? I'm sure like most people would be like, oh yeah, hell yeah, glad this dude's on our team.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. Like like you get integrated into your platoon if you're willing to be a Marine with them. Like they will integrate you just like anyone else. And that's a really fun thing to do, in my opinion. And but like I said, it's all, there's certain units that probably don't do that. So I got extra lucky. I ended up with 1-4 Charlie Company 1st Platoon. We got our very own battle position in 2007, where nobody else messed with us, and we were constantly going outside the wire with 5 to 10 man teams. Most of the time it was just like a 5 to 6 man team. But yeah, if you're going to operate in small units like that, like, if you're the corpsman, like you're going to have to wear multiple hats. You're going to have to be a rifleman until, you need to open up your med bag, or you might be an auto rifleman, or you might be a designated marksman or something like that.
That's cool though. Still, to be able to wear those different hats and be able to.
Oh yeah, it was a huge privilege getting to serve with them. But yeah, like I said, if I showed up though, and I was just, like a, for lack of better words, bag of ass, and not motivated, like not wanting to you know, essentially saying like, I'm not going to do patrols or anything like that. I'm just going to be a corpsman, you know, like they're probably going to find a way to get you back to the battalion aid station and find someone else. But
I mean, yeah, I mean, I could imagine too. Like, would you rather have them on a rifleman or a corpsman? I mean, I guess you could argue that at the same time, but why not? If you could have both and someone that's
oh
invested,
yeah.
I would say at the very least, it's you were willing to do the extra work and be invested into the team. That's huge. And my book, my personal opinion, that's huge compared to someone that's like, yeah, I'm just here. You're like, oh great, this person has my back in a gunfight. Okay, cool.
But yeah, there's a like some people have like I remember one Marine in my platoon. He wanted to be a corpsman, then his recruiter told him like, "Oh, corpsmen don't get weapons," or something like that, and that's just not true at all. Like we gotta, you know, so the way that typically works, like I had an M4 that was assigned to me from the armory, you know, in our battalion's armory,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a how can I put like that? That's your rifle, you know. Aside from when you get out, you got to turn it back in, unfortunately. but, but that's essentially your rifle for that time. But when you go on deployment, like that rifle never leaves you. Like you're constantly for that, you know, 7 months, however long your deployment is, you know. And by the way, I think Army does like 15-month deployment, or they used to.
That's rough.
At one point. Yeah, and so but for that 7 months, that rifle is going to be assigned to you, and it's not going to go back to the armory or anything. But say we were about to do a mission where we needed 2 auto riflemen, then I might swap my rifle with the auto rifleman or another auto rifleman in my platoon. Now we try not to do that too much, because once you start doing that, now I got to worry about how am I going to carry 200 round box mags, or you know, the A barrel. We would always run our 249s with the A barrel or the alternate barrel. You know, it's a so there's a there's you don't do it too often, you know, but yeah, you do. There is a lot of, I guess, customization per mission, you know, for different guys. But
That makes sense. You
but
just
yeah,
carry what you need.
yeah. But man, I'm sorry, I kept getting sidetracked. Yeah, I was going to tell you the Bomba story. Oh man, if anyone sees this, so they're going to know exactly who I'm talking about. It's so our staff sergeant in our platoon in 07, he was this guy from Ghana. If you know where Ghana is, it's on the how can I explain it?
That's what Google's for.
It's on the west coast, southwest coast of Africa. But he had done French Foreign Legion.
Africa looking like this on the side, and it's like right here at that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
That part that juts out to the west, and then it's the south part of that tip. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was actually from there. He joined the French Foreign Legion, and then he yeah, people are going to totally know who I'm talking about. But
I don't know, man. You'd be surprised, actually. We got quite a few guys on my ship right now that are from Africa.
Oh yeah,
like harsh accent and all.
He joined the French Foreign Legion, got his green card, you know, came to the U.S., and then he joined the Marine Corps. At some point, I know he got his citizenship and everything like that squared away, and then what was it? He went to like. I know he was like a scout sniper with recon for a little bit, and then he went to the drill field, or he was a drill instructor at MCRD San Diego. Or my bad, do you know what MCRD is? Or
Marine Corps Recruiting Department?
Yeah, okay, Marine Corps Recruit Depot. Yeah, so it's like it's the same thing as like our RTC, essentially. But
yeah, actually, I grew up close to Camp Pendleton.
Oh, okay, yeah,
because my dad was in the Marine Corps.
Ground. Right on. Yeah. But yeah, it's funny, like that was already like I got a million stories just from that, because we used to have an expression saying you can take the drill instructor out of MCRD, but you can't take the MCRD out of the DI. So you know, every now and then he was actually a really cool guy. It's just that you didn't want to cross him, you know, it's like he might snap back into that drill instructor mode.
Okay, yeah. Fair enough. I know that feeling. I definitely done that.
But but yeah, he was a really cool guy and everything. But yeah, like I said, I got like a million stories I could tell about this guy. But the one where he took an airplane to the chest, I think is pretty funny.
Like what do you mean by airplane? Like a UAV? Like you guys like threw it or something?
Yeah. So well, we get it was actually like a Navy team that came out to our battle position in '07, like to our 30-man battle position. There was like 3 Navy guys, or excuse me, sailors. But when you're around Marines a lot, we just start referring to them as Navy guys or squids.
That's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, 3 of them came by. They were actually really cool dudes, though. They brought this little remote control airplane, and I shouldn't say remote like little, because this thing had a wingspan of, I'd say, like 10 feet or so. Like you actually had like have this little trolley that launches it off, essentially.
Oh yeah, the slingshot. Yeah.
Yeah. So they bring this thing out and they're flying it around at night, and they're like, okay, we got to land this thing. And so there's this long road on the other side of the Euphrates from our battle position. And me and Bomba, staff sergeant, and our lieutenant, and a couple of other guys from my platoon went out there to this long road to go recover this airplane. And they're saying, like, over the radio, like, okay, we're getting ready to land, and Bomba and staff sergeant standing right in the middle of the freaking road, and he's like, and he's telling us like, I don't see it. And he's like looking around. Keep in mind, we're looking through night vision and everything, and he's trying to find this thing. And we're like, well, staff sergeant, whether you see it or not, get out of the road. They're about to land in the road. He's like, but I don't see it. I don't, he kept, and then I hear this like lawnmower engine go over my head. Like, and we're like, staff sergeant, get out of the way, and then he turns around just as this thing freaking clips him across the chest right into a sappy plate. And excuse me. And this guy, I swear to God, if I had been standing next to him, I could have surfed this guy. Like he face planted and went like 10 feet, just flat as a board across this road. Like I couldn't. I immediately, like, I'm looking at it. I'm like, holy shit. Like, I thought that he might be dead because he just took an airplane to the chest, So I ran over to him, like thinking the worst. Like, just, as you're running over to him, you're thinking through your March P and everything, like the acronym for first aid and whatnot. But, as I get up to him, he like starts standing up, dusting himself off. Like, that shit hurt, man. I didn't even see it. Like, Jesus, staff, so you just took an airplane to the chest.
I've heard like so many like crazy stories with UAVs. There was one where non-disclosed location, non-disclosed person, but it was definitely the CO. We had, I think it was Marine Corps actually. I'm pretty sure we had USMC on board. And they had this drone. So actually roles reversed, right? They had the drone this time. And they're like, yeah, it's this drone. We're going to like fly it around and stuff. It's really cool. And then they're like, in fact, the CO, sir, you can throw it off the ship. We'll have you throw it off the ship, And he's like, really? He's like, yeah, totally cool, right? And they're like showing him how to do it, how to like wind up and like how to throw it so that like you like make sure, because you had to propel it, and you didn't need, it was so small that you didn't need the slingshot. You could just throw this thing. And they're like, this is how you got to throw it. We'll let you know. We got to make sure everything's turned on. So I don't know what happened, but he threw it, and it just went into the water, and I was like, I can't laugh right next to, like there's no laughing right next to the CO, and
I would have.
One of the dudes turned around, and as soon as he turned around, one of the guys was just sitting there drinking coffee and just goes, like, like spits it all out over other people, and like people were just like, don't laugh, it's the CO. Like, don't laugh, don't laugh. And you just hear man the boat deck like 2 seconds later, like right on, like they knew that was gonna happen or something.
Were they able to recover it?
Oh yeah, we were able to recover it, and the thing was pretty like well built, so
Mhm.
They're like, it's okay, we'll throw it this time. But they dried it off, cleaned it up, and then just threw it, and it was good to go. But
On my
it was
on my
just, it's like those memes you like. There was like, I don't know, it's like a short I've seen before, like a GIF, and where like someone had this plane like they built, and they throw it, and it crumples like a beer can as it just goes straight down, and that's the first thing that came to mind, and I was, I can't, I gotta walk away.
Oh man. On my first deployment in '04, like that actually happened, like very similar thing. We had, I think it was 3 UAVs, but I remember all three of them crashed before we even made it to the Arabian Gulf. But I remember like one of them hit the control tower. Like the USS Denver. It wasn't like a big like Nimitz class aircraft carrier or anything. It's a small, you got a flight deck in the back, and then they have like a little tiny tower.
Oh, it's an
I think
amphib. Yeah.
yeah, it's a Liberty Port denied LPD 9.
Oh, yeah. Liberty Port denied. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those who don't know, amphib ships are the ones that have like well decks in the back that can get really close to shore. They back up and then they drop down that deck, and that's where like troops and vehicles and stuff come out.
Yeah, it's actually nuts. My first deployment on that ship, we took First Battalion, Fourth Marines, or 1-4, the unit that I ended up with. Like they were actually embarked on it on the Denver for my first deployment. Then just by chance alone, that's the unit I ended up with later. So
Yeah, on there's a lot of videos online too. If you ever want to like talking to the audience again, I think there's an Instagram page called Captain Garvey, and I believe he's actually the CEO of an amphib ship. And there's like a lot of videos of people just messing around and like the Marines onloading, offloading some stuff onto the well deck and stuff.
mm, yeah, it was man, it is hard work, but it was I kind of miss that ship in some way. Like I saw that they used it for a weapons test recently, or this was like recently that I'm saying like 2 years, 2 or 3 years ago, I think. But yeah, it was actually hurt a little bit seeing it sink.
They they sank it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They,
yeah,
I,
yeah. 22nd July 2022, Denver was sunk during a. Wow, this is a great naming. It was sunk during a sinking exercise. The sink exercise was called SinkX. We named stuff really good in Navy.
oh
As part
man.
of a multinational exercise, RIMPAC, so Rim of the Pacific. And if you don't know what that is, if you watch that, the historical documentary called Battleship, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I
The one
think
with
I know what you're.
Rihanna?
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
I
the,
know.
the naval
Okay,
historical documentary, yeah.
where they fight the aliens.
Yeah. The beginning of that's RIMPAC. It's really cool.
Oh man.
Um, yeah, so they sunk it in Hawaii. This means they probably used it for munitions testing then.
Yeah. There's a big video where you can see it getting the crap shot out of it. But yeah, I was watching that and kind of,
Felt something a little bit, huh?
yeah. I mean, don't get, like I said, it was a man. It was hard work, being on that ship. Like people ask, like what was worse, like ship life or being in Iraq, and by far ship life was like it, in my opinion.
Really?
Like it's oh
I guess it
yeah, like
depends.
I would take my second deployment any day over my first.
Yeah, I guess it really depends. I mean, I've never served on an amphib. I've only been on a cruiser and a destroyer. But I mean, I don't know. I guess I've never been over the wire, so I couldn't say. But and the only shore duty I've ever done was being an RDC. But yeah, there's something I would say personally. There's something about just being underway at just like aside from being away from your family, which totally sucks, right? Technically you're never on liberty, but it's it's hard to describe when it's your
Oh
ship and
yeah.
that's all your job is and you're underway. I would say if you well, you wouldn't be underway. Though. I was gonna say take away the fact that you can't go home, but there's, I mean, people who like, why do people own yachts? Why are they always on yachts? Why are people always sailing and fishing? Like those people, it's like I'm probably
Mhm.
gonna be one of those people. Like there's something about us being underway in the middle of the ocean. It's just best nights of sleep I ever had. My mind is always calm, even if we're in stressful environments where, like, we're by Ukraine or was going through a Strait of Taiwan.
Mm.
There's something about being underway. I know some people they just absolutely hate it. They're like, "Wow, I knew I was in the Navy, but wow, I did not sign up for this kind of thing," which is totally understandable. You have to experience it first. But for me, like yeah, I'm definitely I love being in the ocean.
Oh, well, keep in mind, on my first deployment, I was a corpsman striker. I hadn't even gone to A school yet. I was undesignated, so a lot of that was, you're chipping paint, you're dragging chains around, you get to
You were
drive the
working with the
boat.
boatswain's mates, yeah.
Yeah, you do get to drive the boat, so that was kind of cool.
Which a lot of people
Um,
don't understand. It's you sure, right? There's the OOD and the captain, and they're the ones that are saying we're gonna go this way. But guess who's actually on the little steering? It's like a little steering wheel. It's like this big.
yeah.
It's not like those big ones like you see on pirate ships anymore. It's just this little steering wheel, and it's some 17-year-old kid who's just like sitting there, driving the ship, keeping it like perfectly straight while also reading a book at the same time. They're just like
Oh,
reading a book on watch, keeping the ship. There'll be a wave that should knock you off course, and they'll be reading the book, and they'll just counter it real quick, and you're still
man.
perfectly. And you're like, all right, cool. My
You
life
get
is in
the
the
hang
hands of
of
the
it.
17-year-old dude that's reading, 50 Shades of Grey right now.
But yeah, you definitely get the hang of it, like the feel for driving it after a certain amount of time. The Denver actually had a pretty big wheel still. Like I remember it was like a brass in the middle and wood on the outside, but
Oh, you
yeah,
had a
you could
fancy one then. Well, that
it,
was
yeah,
that was an older ship. It was an Austin
yeah.
class. We have. Don't quote me. I'm gonna have to look it up, and I don't want to waste your time and go through all the.
You're good.
I'm pretty sure it's called the Freedom class now.
Yeah, like the newer ones. Yeah, but yeah, the old ones, like the one that I was on, it was a man. I don't know exactly when its keel was laid, but it was a long. I want to say like 50s or 60s.
64.
Okay. Yeah, but it was definitely an old ship. But like I said, though, it was really hard work. Like if you're thinking about joining the Navy and like, so that's the thing that you see in deck department. Like is when if you're undesignated in the Navy, it's not really the end of the world. Like if you find yourself in one of those situations, because there's plenty of good people in those jobs,
Oh yeah.
and it's just a matter of, I guess, like finding a rate that works for you, so to speak. Or like now for me, it was all like it was in my contract, like it was some GTEP med program where like they didn't have enough seats available in Corpsman A school. So they were like, well, you can go to boot camp and then we'll put you to work on a ship while you learn about the Corpsman rate. And then you can go back to A school, and me being just anxious as hell, just ready to sign up. That's exactly what I did.
That makes sense. I remember when I first signed up, I was like, "When do you want to go?" They're like, "When do you want to go?" I was like 19 and my wife was pregnant, and she was 18. Like we got married as teenagers. Like we were just I don't know. I just wanted to marry her. And
Not a bad life choice if you still got the kid.
yeah, I still got the
All
girl,
right.
still got the kids, man.
Heck yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that
I
would
just
be
knew
probably
Walmart wasn't hacking it. I needed to take care of my family. So when I went in there, they're like, oh, "Okay, great, you have a pretty high ASVAB score. What are you looking for?" I was like, honestly, I just need to go. I need to go so I can make money, get medical coverage. I got a kid on the way. I got to take care of my family. They're like, "Great, we can send you in a month." I was like, "Cool, what is it?" They're like, "They said you didn't care." I was like, "Well, I mean, I want to know what I'm doing." They're like, submarines. I was like, "No, no." I'm like the tallest person I know. I'm not going on a submarine, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm claustrophobic. I don't even know if I'm claustrophobic. Let me think about it. I'm claustrophobic. Not, I don't want to be subs. And they're like, "Well, the next thing we have for you." Uh, doesn't ship for another 6 months. I was just like, well, that's within the time frame of the baby, so let's do it.
Oh man. Yeah, that's fucking. Oh man, my bad. I gotta watch my mouth. But yeah, that's freaking hilarious. Yeah, for me, it was just a matter of because I think I told you, like I was when 9/11 hit, I was a junior actually in high school, and I wanted to join right away. Like I was very angry, like I knew the country was going to war, so I was actually, when 9/11 happened, I was actually up in boarding school up in North Carolina, and I got myself kicked out of there in a kind of interesting way, and then ended up as soon as I could, I went to a Marine recruiting office, and I was like, "Hey, sign me up! Like, just send me off right away." And they're like, "Hey, well, you need a high school education." I'm like, "Well, darn." And not to mention, I think I was like 17 or something, so they needed like parent consent or something too. But first of all, my parents were not about to sign me up. Like they were very against it. They wanted me to go to college and everything. But yeah, I ended up going back to public school for my last year and a half of school. I got my my high school education, and but I remember it was like senior year. I took the ASVAB, and the Marine recruiters, they gave me a call, and they're like, "Hey, so what do you want to do for the Marine Corps? Because you took the test. It looks like you're qualified for whatever you want, pretty much." And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to be a medic." And they're they're like, "Oh, about that, you're in the wrong office."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, a lot of people don't know. Like, I didn't know that either. That medics for the Marine Corps are Navy corpsmen. So if you want to be a medic in the Marine Corps, come over to the Navy.
Yeah. So next thing I know, I'm in the Navy office, going like, so I want to be a corpsman or something like that. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
But yeah, they luckily they were able to take me. It was like I said, the only opening they had for that particular job was like that GTEP thing, which it definitely sucked. It wasn't what I was expecting, going to the Navy and having to do, painting and swabbing, all sorts of stuff like that.
I mean, you do that at any rate, to be honest.
Yeah, I did a lot more of it though. So
fair enough. Fair enough. You definitely have a lot of shit to do. We just have our spaces.
Oh man, but yeah, that was But don't get me wrong, I made a ton of friends there. It still teaches you good work ethics, and like there's very few people that can like I guess have been pushed that degree, so to speak, of being like a an undesignated, having to work for your rate, stuff like that. So it was a like I'm not trying to bash my experience by any means, because I met a lot of really good people on that ship. Still keep in touch with a few of them today. Really good friends, lifelong friends that I couldn't ask for more. But yeah, it was kind of ironic though, the fact that like corpsman rate was so locked up they couldn't get me a seat right off the bat in A school. So like that kind of speaks like where the Navy when the Navy thinks the corpsman rate is overmanned, in reality it was undermanned, because when I got to my platoon, I was the only corpsman in my platoon. You're supposed to have 3, like 1 per squad. So that's another thing I should probably clarify to anyone looking at going into that rate, is like, if you're going to a platoon that doesn't already have a corpsman, like you got to account for all 3 squads. Make sure everyone's records are squared away. You got to keep up with immunizations on the record. Yeah, like there's tons of things like that you're going to be bogged down. And then here's the really bad thing is, if you're the only corpsman in your platoon, now I know right now it's a peacetime military, so maybe you don't have to worry about this as much, but if you're the only corpsman, every time there is an active element of your platoon, like some element going out on a raid or on any sort of mission, guess who has to be on it?
You do, yeah.
Exactly. Like, so you're going to be, yeah. Now the plus side though, there is a flip side to it. You don't have to stand post usually as a corpsman. I clarify usually just because I did SIQ a few guys at the start of deployment, so I covered their post work, but yeah, generally speaking, corpsmen typically don't have to stand post.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Now, yeah, like I said, there's exceptions, and I'm gonna feel bad because there's probably someone that's gonna watch this. It's gonna be a FMF corpsman in like 2 years, be like, "Damn, Doc G lied to me," and I'm having to stand post.
Yeah, huge quotations. 2007, everyone. And this is
Yeah,
also, even if it was today, everyone's experience is different.
yeah,
I've,
exactly.
I could talk about my rate and how I felt about it and my experience, and someone will have like the same rate and have or been in the same places or done the same things, and they're like, it was terrible. I hate the Navy. Screw the Navy. This sucks. And my feeling is I've enjoyed 70% of my time, so it pays pretty good, you know. So I'm probably gonna stick with it. And that's the thing is everyone's gonna have completely different experiences. That's like half of why I want to do what I'm doing now and just interviewing people. I just want to share your experience. Even if it's like yo, I hated it. Okay, cool. Tell me why. Like I can't argue with you unless you're saying something that's factually incorrect. Like you're gonna be like, my time there was terrible. I can't tell you what your time was. I can't tell you what your experience was. That was your experience. So that's why, like, good or bad, I'm always gonna have. Like I said, unless it's completely like factually incorrect, kind of a thing. Like at boot
No,
camp, they just
definitely.
hang you by your ankles and spit on your face. Like, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I've told people and this is coming from someone who's never served in the Army or Air Force, but the way I see it, like Army and Air Force is macro and homogenous, whereas the Navy and Marine Corps is micro and homogeneous, so to speak. Like, which means like we're a lot more like per unit. It's going to differ a lot more, I think. At least that was in my experience. Like, because if I went to like another battalion or something like that, there was totally different. Like, they might have certain policies on kind of plate carriers that you might have to wear or something like that.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah. Everyone's gonna have that like one command policy that's different, or
mm,
they interpret that rule differently, or if they even decide to even follow that rule at one point.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a lot more, I guess. Yeah, like per unit to unit basis. So yeah, it's I don't want to get people thinking that this is exactly how it's going to be for them.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, it's share. It's sharing of experience. It's
Mm,
I think most veterans would agree that they enjoyed their time.
mm,
Obviously, not every. I've heard other people say that got out there. They like actively tell people, don't join the military. It's a
mm,
waste of time. It was the worst experience I've ever had, and that just sucks to hear because they probably had a really terrible immediate chain of command.
mm,
Navy in itself is not a terrible place, um, but I could definitely see where people had like their LPO or their chief or their divo or in your case it would be like their staff sergeant, or maybe they just had a really 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 bad deployment and then that was the most they could take, and like
mm,
mentally I think, and nothing against them whatsoever, like that's understandable. There's some deployments where you're lucky like me where I've had booze cruises, and then there's some deployments where
mm,
you're just nothing but stress and nothing but terrible times, and some people there's limits to each person, and so I can't argue that, and it just sucks to hear whenever people hear they went out and did something that was honorable in a sense. They went out, they joined,
mm,
whether or not they joined to, get paid or pay for college, or me, I was just trying to
mm.
provide for my family. In the end, you still agree to serve your country.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so no matter what, everyone's doing the same thing. Different
Yeah,
reasons, but everyone's doing the same thing. So that's honorable. You're willing to
those
do
guys
that.
are still my hero today.
Yeah. So,
Like,
but then you hear people that do it, and it was like it was the worst experience of my life, and it's like that's
mm,
really sucks to hear, man, because I've
they're
had
still
some
my
really good
hero.
times, and you've been in some crazy situations, and even you look back at it fondly. It's definitely just they had the wrong people around them, and that's probably something they couldn't even control.
Oh, that's I tell people like I'm sure you've heard the expression. I I loved my job but hated the company I worked for, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like that's how I felt a lot about like big Navy and big Marine Corps is like I loved my unit so bad. Like if they just, I'm not the only one who said this there, but like if they had just kept us in Iraq, like we probably and just not bothered us, like we might have just stayed in. But but yeah, it's kind of it. Like I really have a my bad. Yeah, I don't know how to put it, but I'm a lot more grateful now. Like now that I use my GI Bill and everything like that. But I remember when I got out, I was definitely ready to get out. But with that being said, though, I wouldn't trade the friends I made for anything, or those experiences. Like I didn't really have like a bad time, it's just that I was ready to get out and go to college.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Yeah.
I don't like I said before, like I hate those people that like they just get mad when you're like, oh, I'm done with my time in the military. I'm getting out. Oh, you're not gonna do 20 years or die in the military? Like, oh, screw you, man. It's like, wait, leave him alone, man. He did a good job, and he wants to go. He did his service. Like, leave him. That's
Yeah.
super cool. Let him do his thing. There's nothing wrong with that. People need to get off their high horse about that stuff. Some
Oh, for sure.
people make this a career, and some people don't. And what stinks
Mm,
is some people that don't are really good, and you wish they would kind of make it a career. And then vice versa.
mm.
Some people make it a career, and you'd wish they would just get out. Like, holy crap, man! Like, why are you still here? You're not doing any good. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's both ways. Some people get out, and you're like, all right, cool. I mean, they did a good job. I wish you stayed in because I would have loved to work with you more, or see where you have gone. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I'm definitely repeating myself, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
you're
would
good.
agree with the friends thing, man. It's
Mm,
crazy. The friends you'll make the best friend of your life, and then just never see him again. Like you'll
mm,
hang out with them every day for like 2 years or 3 years or so, and you just never see him again. Like that just happened to me recently. Actually, it really stinks. Like
mm,
it's you stay in touch, but eventually you stop talking. And it
mm.
was one of those things where it's just how it is. I read a quote the
Yeah.
other day. It was like it hit me a little bit too, and it was the most painful thing isn't like a cut or a wound or a scratch or something like that or a broken
Mm.
bone. The most painful thing is the friends you make memories with becoming memories.
Yeah, that's yeah. Uh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
could
hits hits a little bit, right?
yeah. It reminds me of a quote I heard not too long ago. I forget who said it. I definitely didn't make this up, but it says like a man performs an action and becomes a hero. Through death, the hero becomes a legend. Through time, the legend becomes a myth. And then one day a man will act on that myth again.
Huh. That's a good one. That's a real
Yeah.
good one. I never heard that one.
Granted, shoot though, it probably it doesn't have much to do, yeah, but it with the friendship thing. My
I
bad.
don't know,
I
but
I kind of just went off on a tangent, but
I have a quote too.
yeah, my bad.
It's still a
The
good
myth,
quote though. There's nothing wrong with
yeah,
that.
yeah, the memory thing. Yeah, it was yeah, my bad. I've had a few friends that like I definitely think have achieved the hero status. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely. I mean, that's the thing though, is you're going to meet so many good people in the military. Like, you're just not going to be able to keep up with them all. And
Yeah, I mean, I consider myself more of an introvert too, so
mm,
sometimes every once in a while I have good friends that get me back out of my shell and stuff. Because I'll be happy to stay at home with my wife and kids and my dog, man. That's it. Like
mm,
I could do that every day for the rest of my life. Like I'm looking forward to
oh, I could be the
retirement.
same way.
Like
Yeah.
that's totally cool with me. I got a home gym and everything, and when now we got DoorDash, I could totally just live at home. Yeah, but that's they get me out of that zone and we talk again. But there's just some people that are the same way, like no ill intent or anything. Even though we used to hang out every single day and
Yeah.
text each other, go out drinking together and stuff like that, best friends, and it just happens. And when you're moving away from
Mm,
each other and you got your own lives and you're across, I'm on the East Coast, they're on the West Coast, and we're going to different deployments.
yeah, for
it's just how
sure.
it happens. If I ever saw them again, I'd totally give them a hug, and I
Oh
know that
yeah.
they feel the same way. But it's just how it happens. Just been a while, you don't really talk. But if you see each other again, it'll be like you just saw each other yesterday.
Yeah, right. Like that's one thing I wish I had done better at is like keeping up with some of the people that I bumped into like throughout the training pipeline. Like I don't know anyone from boot camp. I was Division 410 in 2003. If anyone is watching or wants to get back in touch, but
Oh man, I
yeah.
was still at RTC. I could look those people up for you.
Oh man, I barely remember many of them, like their names and stuff. But like I mean, we spent 12 weeks together. But I think back then it was a 12-week boot camp. But but yeah, granted that's just a drop in the bucket compared to like this time that you're going to spend with people in the fleet. But yeah, cherish those people you get to serve with, and you never know. Like some of them are going to go off and do some amazing things, and you're gonna be like, "Hey, that's my brother from boot camp." Or
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's great. Like, we have a Facebook group for mine. Like, someone created
Mhm.
it and I joined it, and then like once a year I'll remember it exists, and then you'll just so once a year someone will just like jump in there and just like send like what's everyone been up to, and then it just blows up like crazy for a week, and then it stops. You know. And
Yeah.
what sucks though is that it's not everyone joined, which is fine. That's not the terrible part. I think about
Mhm.
50 of us joined out of the 90 of us that were in that group, and sadly, there are like 8 or 10 now that will never be active in that group again. They've passed on from different things. So it
Oh.
just man, like every once in a while and it's happened really lately, and I don't
Mhm.
know why. I'm not trying to like make a point of anything, but it just really sucks. Is like the last 3 times this group chat has popped up, and makes me wish I never joined the group chat now. Is they're like, oh, just so you know, our brother has fallen, blah blah blah, and it's like,
Mhm.
it's kind of hoping it was gonna be one of those nice ones where it's like, oh hey, I got out of the Navy. What's everyone doing in the civilian world? Or I went officer, because that's usually what
Mhm.
it is. Oh, I got married, or I had a kid. It's every once in a while someone puts something in there. What's everyone else been up to? And we all chat. But the last 3 times it's blown up, it's like someone died. And it's like, God,
Oh
this
man,
sucks.
I've
Not
had
a
a
good
few of
feeling.
those. Yeah, we're like it's old shipmate. Like there was one guy from the Denver not too long ago. Yeah, but it hits hard when you see that. Like it's yeah, a lot of regrets of not keeping up like I should have with them.
What's
But
weird
yeah,
too is like maybe you only knew the person like boot camp.
mm,
Like 8 weeks, or maybe you went to school with him after, so maybe you knew him for a few months, or maybe you hung out with him for a year. Don't
mm,
talk to him again, except for like group chats or something like that, for maybe for like 8 years, and you hear that they passed away, and it's like,
mm.
it was 8 years ago, but I remember everything.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, like I said, you're gonna that's one of the bad things like is that you're going to go through these training pipelines and you're going to end up in the fleet with so many good people that like it would be impossible to keep track of everyone just because you would spend the rest of your life on the phone if you tried to, but it would
Yeah,
and I certainly hope people understand, like if I've ever not failed at keeping in touch, it's nothing personal.
yeah.
It's,
The what's funny is so positive note, right? When I
mm,
went to after I was done with being an RDC, I had to go to school again before I went to my ship to do my next
mm,
job. And in my classroom, like me and this dude looked at each other. We just kept like staring at each other, and we're like, we know each other. We know each other. We
uh-huh.
just don't know where. And we went through like our entire careers together, and we're like, oh, we went to that school after boot camp. So maybe we went to that school together. That was like 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. But I think that was it. We definitely know each other. Yeah, cool. Screw it. We're hanging out now. That was it.
Oh man,
We're friends now. Again,
yeah.
that's the cool thing too. You'll just re-bump into people, and then you're like, we probably liked
Oh,
each
for
other or
sure.
not. I don't know. Either way, that was 10 years ago. But we know each other, so we're friends.
There was another undesignated seaman from the Denver that ended up in 1-4 as another corpsman with me.
Oh,
But
cool.
yeah, so like now,
Small
granted,
world.
he was another company than me and everything. But yeah, it was awesome meshing with him again. But like I said, though, I lucked out big time and with that whole unit just because like it was we had very good camaraderie. Marines will every now and then I don't know, have their little tussles and stuff,
Same
but
things.
yeah, but it's not but yeah, it wasn't nothing that would prevent us from working together. Like even the two people that like got along the worst from that unit would have been fine, I think, on an operation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's definitely like a weird thing where I don't know. I probably because now I just don't see it anymore at my level, and I'm positive it still happens. It has to happen,
Mhm.
because it definitely happened when I was coming up. But we did everything we could to make sure our chief didn't see. So I'm sure it's still happening, but um, we used to have like wrestling matches where it was like f you man, no f you. It's like, all right, go, let's fan room, go to the fan room. We got to finish this out right now. You two go to the fan room, and then someone would referee, and we just wrestle it out. Someone would get hurt at one point, and they would come back out, and they'd just be like, all right, let's go work.
No, and hey, thanks so much though. Did you stop recording by chance?
Oh no, I can stop right now if you want.
Oh no, well I'll say my goodbye, or I guess all the viewers.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you for listening to my crazy stories and